We'll begin this meeting of the Syracuse Planning Commission momentarily. And we have a series of public hearings this evening. There are some changes to the agenda for this evening. Fortunately, they are subtractions from the agenda, not additions to the agenda. And Heather will announce which items are no longer under consideration this evening, either by way of a hearing or by way of action on the part of the commission. So why don't we begin with that, then we'll move to minutes and then into the public hearings for this evening. So if you're here for one of the items that Heather will go through in just a moment, there will be no hearing, there will be no action on those items, and you're free to go watch the game or you can stay with us.
Okay. Good evening, commission members, Mr. Kulik. So we have, actually, if anyone has an agenda that they picked up from the back, the first 5 items have been withdrawn. So the first one is R1902. This is a re-subdivision to combine 18 properties into one new lot on Ashworth, East Genesee Street, Ashworth Place and East Genesee Street. Northside Genesee Associates LLC is the owner and applicant. The properties lie within a residential class B and residential class C zoning district. That one has been withdrawn by the applicant's attorney. The second one, PR 1903, has also been withdrawn by the applicant's attorney. This was for project site review, demolition, and new construction to construct a 7-story apartment building on those same addresses on Ashworth Place and East Genesee Street. And the third is SP 1906, and this was also withdrawn by the applicant's attorney. This was a special permit for an apartment building at 208, 210, 212, and 224 Ashworth Place. Northside Genesee Associates LLC is the owner and applicant for all 3, and those were officially withdrawn. The next 2, Z2810, this is a change of zone from industrial class A to planned institutional district at 420 and 500 East Taylor Street and 1202 to 1204 North McBride Street. Syracuse University was the petitioner. That has been withdrawn by the petitioner. And Z2816, this was Planned Institutional District Plan, and this is to establish the steam plant subdistrict to the SU Planned Institutional District, 420 and 500 East Taylor Street and 1202 and 1204 North McBride Street. Syracuse University is the owner. It's in an industrial class A currently zoning district. That also has been withdrawn. So those were companion pieces. The rest on the agenda is as noted.
Thank you very much. So if you're here for those items, we will not be dealing with those this evening. We will have the rest of the hearings that are on the agenda. We will begin those in just a moment, and just by way of introduction for anyone unfamiliar with our process, as each application is announced from the table, we would ask the applicant or the representative to come forward to the podium on our left here, provide your name and address for the record, as well as a brief summary of the application. Following any questions from the commission members, we will ask members of the public who wish to speak in favor of the project to do so, and then we will offer an opportunity for members of the public who wish to speak in opposition to the application to do that as well. Where there are comments made in opposition, we will encourage the applicant to return to address the comments made in opposition. So with that as background, we are ready for our first hearing for this evening. Would you please provide a...
The only other business item would be to approve the minutes from the...
Let's do that at the front end. I thank you very much for the reminder. We have minutes from our March 11th meeting. Is there a motion to adopt those minutes?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? Our minutes from the last meeting are approved. Now we can move to our public hearings for this evening.
Yes, so starting with public hearing number 6 on the agenda. This is Z2811, and this is continued from the March 11th, 2019 meeting. This is a change of zone from residential class A1 and residential class B to a planned institutional district. And these properties known in assessment are 1348 to 1386, 1500, 1700, 1702, 1800, 1800 rear, and 2000 rear East Colvin Street, 100 Edith Street, 617 to 625, 701 and 801 Thurber Street, and 1311 Jamesville Avenue. Syracuse University is the petitioner. The companion piece that to that application, or to that petition, sorry, is Z 2817, and this is also a continuation from the March 11th meeting. And this is a planned institutional district plan to establish the South Campus sub-district to the SU planned institutional district. This is known in assessment as 1348, 1386, 1500, 1700, 1702, 1800, 1800 rear, and 2000 rear East Colvin Street, 100 Edith Street, 617 to 625, 701 and 801 Thurber Street, and 1311 Jamesville Avenue. Syracuse University is the owner of the properties, and they lie within a residential class A1 and residential class B zoning district.
Thank you. I see the petition, or the applicant's here already. Thank you.
Is this the one I should use?
Mhm.
This one here? Hi, my name is Greg Fauché, Whiteman, Osterman, and Hanna, 1 Commerce Plaza in Albany, on behalf of Syracuse University. Jennifer Bybee couldn't be here tonight. She sends her regrets and asked me to take her place. To pick up where we left off, can I carry this? We have submitted a revised proposal for the South Campus. There we go. And I'll try to explain it here. If you need hard copies, I don't know, do you have the hard copies? I'll stand here so people can see. This rectangular area here, I'm going to call it the northwest corner if you assume Colvin is the north. We had originally proposed to go into the PID. Based upon comments that we've received from the neighbors at the prior hearings, we've gone back and reconsidered the proposal and determined that what we're going to do is this rectangular area from the Vincent Paper Street to the south all the way down to Thurber, we're going to pull out of the district and leave it zoned RA1. So it will stay as it's zoned today, and if we ever want to come in and redevelop that property, then we'll be subjected to the zoning requirements. We'd need a zone change, and unless it complied with the RA1 requirements. We have also, on this triangular piece north of that, along Colvin, some people had expressed concerns about that. I want to emphasize, we had originally established a 50-foot setback from the neighboring Comstock Commons. That's greater than what the current zoning would allow for. And to address any other concerns, we've also established a 30-foot setback to the north of Vincent Street. So that's going to give them people even greater setback. The other change that we made was over on the northeast corner. I'm not aware that there have been any real concerns expressed from the public about that. We looked at whether or not we could change that, determined that we really couldn't pull it out of the PID. However, what we are willing to do is say we won't access those 2 streets with any roads. So Westmoreland and Cumberland Avenues will stay the way they are as dead-end streets. Of course, if we need emergency access or something, that could stay. But we would end up accessing, an existing road network or tying into the existing road network where we'd ever do anything over there. I do want to emphasize again that we are not currently proposing to develop anything. Were we to propose, we would have to come back to this board to get project plan review, and that will be another public process with a public hearing that we'd have to go through. I'm happy to answer any questions that anyone may have.
Questions?
Yes. Could you repeat your comment about the northeast corner? You said you could not remove it?
Well, from the university's perspective, we feel we need to keep it as PID. And so what we had
For no specific
we've
reason?
established that there's a 50-foot setback there.
No,
which
I
is-
heard that. No, I meant, you're saying for the university's reason, so what is that reason?
That we really feel like there, we want the land in PID, number one, but number two, that we don't really feel like we're accomplishing anything, especially if we establish those as dead ends. This 50-foot setback is far greater than what the current zoning would allow for. Like if we came in under the current zoning and wanted to build right here, there'd be at most a 30-foot setback. Could be as little as 10 or 20, but we're proposing to establish it at 50.
I certainly appreciate that. I think that's just one of several concerns about
Okay.
what happens with
Okay.
the change in zoning. Okay, I'm all set, I guess, in terms of, I don't think there's anything else I can ask. So.
Okay, thank you very much. So we will turn to the public and ask if there are any individuals who wish to speak in favor of this application, either one. Provide your name and address and your comments, please.
My name is Gloria Sage, and I live at 1217 Jamesville Avenue. I want to make a comment first. It is my understanding that the zoning office, planning office, has to send out notices to people living within 400 feet, or, as I've seen on, or neighborhood associations. Now, I live within 400 feet of that little piece at the bottom. I did not get a notice for the first hearing on this application, and I got a notice for the second hearing, last hearing, but it came a day late. So essentially it was useless. And so I've wondered about this. I'm not a lawyer, but if a zoning change is made and people aren't notified, I would think that the zoning change would be invalid and could be, it could be challenged in court. And I was wondering whether, what your thoughts on this are. The other thing is, as far as the application per se, I am very pleased with the change and leaving that square area. I find it a little bit difficult about the triangular bit because, without a plan, it's very, even though one can challenge the plan later, but if one doesn't know what something is going to be used for, with a change of zoning, it is harder to challenge anything. So I would say that what I would like to see is if that triangular area, since it is a sensitive area to Comstock Commons, I think that that zoning change should only be approved when they have an actual plan. So that's my statement.
Okay, thank you. Other individuals who may,
If you would like, I can address her legal question.
please.
When it comes to notice, as any grievance on a board's decision that either a denied applicant or an aggrieved party, a member of the public, would be brought through an Article 78 proceeding, one of the factors that the court will look at would be to determine whether a board was following the law and its own procedure, which can include notice, because our notice rules are set by state law, which requires the paper and the website as well, and local law, which our local law in writing is a 200-foot radius, but by practice we do 400 feet. So they'll look at whether you follow your own practice. I will say with notice, courts have determined that errors in notice don't necessarily invalidate a board's decision, but the members of the public have the right to bring an Article 78 and make the case to a judge.
Article 78 is...
It's a procedure, it's a special proceeding in court brought against a body or an officer of government officer. It's just, that's the article in state law, so everybody just calls it an Article 78, but it's an action against a government officer or a board.
And Gloria, I know you sent an email to the mayor's office, and I did respond to them specifically about that. We do, it is 200 feet, we do 400, we go above and beyond. We also have an email list that we send out, which I know that you are on. I double checked just to make sure that you get all the notices, as we did discuss. And also, our specific rules say that if you don't send out postcards or don't send out another kind of paper notice, that it doesn't invalidate any decisions that are made. The only requirement is the paper, which we do 10 days in advance, so it does come out. I think it's in this. It is in the. It comes out that Thursday.
McCarty said that she always looks at notices that come out Saturdays before Christmas or another holiday, because that's where all the sensitive notices tend to be.
No, but we, and if anyone wants to be on the email notice, we'll definitely add them. I've had a couple, actually in the last week or two, that have added. So anyone here, please feel free to, if you'd like to be on the email notice, we'll definitely add you no matter what. But that's our legal requirement to do it in the paper.
Hey, thank you for those points of clarification. So we'll continue to look for public input here, and I would ask for additional people who wish to speak in favor of either of these to come forward and do so. And seeing no one in that category, I will now extend the same invitation to those who wish to speak in opposition to the proposal. Please, if you want to line up one after the other behind on the aisle along the wall here, and then as you reach the podium, provide your name and address for the record, and then your comments.
Good evening. My name is Sheldon Ashkin, resident of 1319 Cumberland Avenue. I received a postcard last week notifying me of this hearing, and up until that postcard, I was unaware of any hearings previous to this date regarding the change of the residential RA1 area to planned institutional districts. I am concerned that this square here, which is residential A, is part of the change to a PID. I don't know what the university has planned, but if that is within a PID, I'm sure that our area will be I would think our area would be adversely affected by any development that may occur over there. It's a site of a drumlin. The drainage there can be significant during rainy weather or spring melt. We've seen a lot of runoff down the street. I can't talk about Westmoreland Avenue, but I'm sure they're affected in much the same way that Cumberland Avenue is. Edith Street is a paper street. I don't know if the university would be required to petition to have that paper street opened if that is the choice of the university during the development of that area. But as a residential RA1 area, I would hope and expect that the board will consider that is the highest and best use for that piece of land and would reject the inclusion of that piece into planned institutional district.
Thank you.
I think it's right here. You had mentioned it. Well, it would be that you had mentioned.
Surrounded by red, I think, right there.
My name is Lucia Wisnand. I reside at 11 Nursery Lane in a homeowners association known as Comstock Commons. My home is contingent with the triangular area, the little tiny piece on this map the tag in on that chart, that is very important to us, although it may be small geographically. And the university continues to request a change in zoning. At the last meeting of the board, the university was asked to submit an actual plan for the use of the area for which they seek rezoning. No detailed land use plan for the triangular area has been submitted, only information about proposed setbacks. Many years ago, I have been told, SU submitted a plan to make the triangular area into a parking lot. The neighbors adjusted at great length, and at that time, SU promised the neighborhood that that area would be forever wild. While I am well aware that a verbal promise has no legal worth in real estate matters, a promise of an institution to its neighbors should have some value in university community relations. If nothing else, neighbors are made leery of promises made by the university that are not in writing. Every grade school child learns the fact that trees are naturally remove pollutants from the air. Removal of the trees in the triangular space will add pollutants to our environment. In an area where heavy traffic generated by the university's extensive parking area surrounding Manley Fieldhouse, removing the green space would be unconscionable. Recently, I heard our Mayor Ben Walsh talk about the goals for the city. They included fiscal sustainability. The fiscal sustainability and stability of Comstock Commons is threatened by possible irresponsible development of the woods contingent to our property. The mayor also emphasized that we must all make an investment in the city. The residents of Comstock Commons, taxpayers all, have made an investment in the city that may well be threatened by an institution that may make over $320 million on its basketball program, but that pays comparatively little for city services. Accordingly, I respectfully urge this zoning board to reject SU's proposal to approve the change of zoning in the triangular area in which they have shown setbacks, but no real land use plan.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Richard Lee. I live at 29 Nursery Lane. I'm here also with the Comstock Commons Homeowners Association.
Can I just interrupt for 1 second?
Yes.
Can you repeat your name again, and then you have to do it again too? Thank you. All right, you're on, sir. And your name?
My name is Richard Lee. I live at 29 Nursery Lane, Syracuse, New York, and I'm also with the Comstock Commons Homeowners Association. And I'm here to ask you to please reject also the triangular area. It's a wooded area, and going through the short environmental assessment form which SU filled out, if you go, they've answered questions. I don't even think they even walked through the area. I would ask them to. I challenge them to come through the area myself, because the city has a runoff that comes through Comstock, in the middle of Comstock Commons, which we have 2 ponds for, and it's a runoff from the city sewer system, which actually goes through that triangular area. And in their environmental assessment form, it states that it wouldn't affect it at all. See, without anything going forward, how do we know if it's going to affect it or not? They're answering questions like nothing's going to ever happen there. If that's the case, then why even go through that? Let us know what the plans are first, so that we can actually honestly come here with good judgment and actually be able to say, yes, okay, we can approve this. We don't think you should be able to approve this without a plan going forward. I mean, it's not just that. It's just that we don't even understand 30 feet setbacks. I mean, what's that going to affect us? We actually came into the city. I came from Fayetteville into the city. Comstock Commons as a whole pays over $250,000 in taxes to the city. SU doesn't pay that in that area for us. And we at least should have the chance to say, no, we don't want this in our area. It should be forever green like they had promised years ago. So I really hope you guys really do oppose this.
Thank you very much. Next speaker, please.
Evening. I'm Wendy Vander Bogart. Apologize for the voice. I also have property at 32 Nursery Lane in Comstock Commons. And I have to say I agree with my fellow neighbors, and I'm going to actually go back up my list. I am going to start with the EIS form. I am in agreement that I was surprised at some of the answers that came forth on that form. I don't think it was completely, I won't say properly, but I don't think it was completely filled out as succinctly as it could have been, knowing what the site is there. Also, just a quick aside, that Comstock Commons is the site of the former City of Syracuse Arboretum. And in 2003, it was developed into what it is now. And I can't say for sure, but that little portion, this little triangle that's over in the corner here, at the northwest corner of the PID, may or may not still be the last little vestige, aside for some oddball trees in there, that may be remaining of that Arboretum site. There were one of the earlier, I think it was when Gloria was speaking, there was a mention of road cuts that were not going to be introduced in this, what would be the northeast corner of Westmoreland, near Westmoreland and Cumberland, which led me to think, well, where are the road cuts going to be? Which takes me back to, I am also in agreement, where is the site plan, even a conceptual or schematic site plan, on which this zoning request is based? And as I understood it, as I read the requirements to even get the zoning change brought before the board, I thought it was a requirement to have some kind of schematic plan in view, not just existing conditions, but proposed. Though it may be schematic, it might only be conceptual at this point, but that would allow for the reasoning of, well, why now is it all right to take out that one little paper street rectangle, but keep the odd other, I'm just gonna walk over there, sorry.
You can disengage the mic and bring that with you.
Or not. Thanks. Sorry. This little piece right here, I'm wondering, what is the purpose of maintaining this within the greater piece of the PID? What benefit does it have within the greater PID, especially now that this is gone? So I'm wondering, is there a cut that would be directly across from the entrance to the Manley parking lot? Is that going to be entertained? Are some of this going to be entertained, even though there's no topo on this map, but this is sort of a high ridge that runs through here. Is there going to be a lot of site work, site construction, and movement of trees and that whole tree buffer in there? It would be nice to know a little more detail before this goes through. So I, for one, would vote, or at least request that you deny it at this time. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Never let a band director have a mic. My name is Ed O'Rourke. I live at 36 Nursery Lane, also in Comstock Commons, right there. And again, I'm concerned about this triangle section here and the Vincent Paper Street and what is going to be done with that. As it stands right now, we get a lot of traffic here, we get a lot of traffic here. When they do whatever it is they decide to do with Route 81, I think there'll be more traffic here. And so coming out here, there's a stop sign, so that's sometimes the only way out of the neighborhood when there's something going on here. So I'm concerned that we don't want to see this turn into some more of Colvin Street. And there are woods here. As Richard pointed out, there's a stream that runs through here, then goes in a pipe under the parking lot and ends up in Meadowbrook. We've had some problems with that when they closed the floodgates over there to flush that out, that the water can come up pretty good in our neighborhood, and there could be a risk of flooding, particularly if they do more with this. It's very wet back in there. There's a lot of marshy area. So that's a real concern to us. Also, I don't see any city councilors here, but I know that they have a very big interest in the deer population which lives up in here. And if you take some more of their habitat away, you're going to drive more of them into people's backyards and into the streets. And also, I will say that I'm a graduate of SU, as is my wife, and 4 of my brothers and sisters, and 2 of my sisters-in-law, and 2 of my daughters, and a niece and a nephew. My wife is a retiree from SU, so I have no axe to grind with Syracuse University, but I do understand that they are not always the benevolent thing that we would like them to be. And I again like to say, if there comes a time when this section needs to have something else done with it other than be left wild, that would be the time to decide that you're going to change the zoning, not now.
Thank you. Our next speaker. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd ask if you would refrain from applause or the opposite of applause as speakers provide their comments. Thank you. Our next speaker, please.
Hi, my name is John Boylan, 201 Arnold Avenue. I've spoken opposition so far at every meeting, and I still agree with opposing against it, because I just don't. If you give them an inch, give SU an inch of that section, then I think it could easily spread like a virus through there. So I don't want to see anything up there. I like the wildlife. I think everybody here agrees that, you know, if they had a plan in place and we knew what it was and we could have an opinion on that and take a good look at it, that would be a much better way to go at it than taking a piece at a time. I don't understand the approach, but I oppose, and I would appreciate if you would think about that.
Sir, next speaker, please.
Good evening. My name is Jim McGinty, and I live at 1318 Cumberland Avenue. And I am just I very much appreciate Syracuse University as a neighbor. My wife and I moved into the Syracuse area about 14 years ago, and we chose to move into the Syracuse area because of the vibrancy of the community. That being said, we also chose to move into this area right here because it was a small little neighborhood, and it had nature all around it. Now we have 3 or 4 new families that have moved in. They're going to be sending their children through the Syracuse City School District. I'm a Syracuse City School District teacher. These are the kinds of families that we want in our communities, and the reasons why they chose that area was because of the access to feeling like they're in an area where there's a lot of green space. I have seen the development that was done by SU with the housing that goes along Colvin. We watched that happen. Those students, they're excellent, and I appreciate the pedestrian traffic of the young people. They're very respectful, but it has definitely reduced the green space of the area. So I think that area, many of us choose to live in that area, or we've chosen to live there because of the environment that we appreciate. And I just ask them not to I think there's plenty of development that's been taking place in that area, and I don't really think that there needs to be any more. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there other individuals who would like to speak in opposition to the proposals?
Good evening. My name is Carol Terry, and I live at 17 Nursery Lane. I have been at that address since 2000. I have a son that graduated from Syracuse University, and I am retired from the Syracuse City School District. I moved into the city specifically to support the city, to support the school district, and I found this area to be absolutely pristine and beautiful, and at that time was advised of the agreement with Syracuse University of the Forever Wild area that came up to the fencing. Again, as stated, verbal agreement's just a verbal agreement, and that's it. But I am in full support of everything stated tonight and everyone. And again, I am addressing that little triangle of which everyone else has spoken of. So thank you very much.
Thank you for your comments. Other individuals who wish to speak in opposition?
Good evening. My name is Kevin Montgomery, and I live at 205 Arnold, right next to John. And I pretty much agree with everything that John said. I oppose of it because of the simple fact that me and my wife, we moved into the area because of the way it's set up. The area is set up where not a lot of traffic, and we love it just like that. So please, just leave it. I'm not I'm not against Syracuse University. I'm a Syracuse employee, but please just leave it.
Thank you, sir. Other individuals who wish to speak in opposition to the application, or either proposal rather, please come forward. I don't see any additional speakers at this point. I'll ask the... Sure.
I'd just like to, Heather or Catherine, there have been a couple of people who've asked about a conceptual plan. Can you just, for everyone here, explain what's required at a minimum when we create a district plan versus what I think some of the folks are asking about?
Yes, so the district plan that Syracuse University submitted, it is required. This kind of zone change is very different than someone just asking to change their zoning in the middle of a residential street. We would typically say that possibly is spot zoning, and that's not legal, but with planned districts, planned development districts and planned institutional districts, a district plan is required. SU submitted a district plan called South Campus, which is a sub-district of the overall SUPID. That sets forth all of the parameters for development, whether it's how many parking spaces are needed, it's the uses that they would like to be allowed, and they have to be within the eligible uses that are in that list. It would be the floor area ratio, meaning how big can a development be on a certain piece of land. Also sets forth setbacks and open space and density. So again, how many units can you get on a lot, or how big can the actual building be on a piece of land. So SU did that, but the plan that they submitted that they wish to put forth with this was just what's there on the ground now, no extra. I know that there might be a couple setbacks that I'm not getting right, and Greg, their attorney, can speak to this, but those are required to be submitted with the zone change, or else it's not a valid zone change. In essence, it's their own comprehensive plan. Just like when the city we're going through our rezoning effort, we're basing that off our comprehensive plan. This has to be based off a plan, and so that is what was submitted, but it was just what's on the ground now, so no extra development proposals. But I think, Greg, you can speak a little bit more to, there might have been a couple geometrics that I'm not getting correct.
Regarding change?
Your district plan.
So while you're coming to the microphone, so essentially what we see now as, quote, existing conditions is essentially the conceptual plan, because no proposals are being added to what is on the ground now. Correct. But if they were going to propose something in the future, they'd have to come in for a plan amendment.
Yes. The only thing that is that they did set forth that is different than what would be allowed would be the setback. So, and when I say allowed, I mean required, which is 10 feet, and they proposed 50. So that would set something back even further for that triangular area in the northwest corner.
So again, this is the conceptual plan. And at this moment in time, there is no proposal for new development.
Correct.
But if they wanted to demolish everything and build 92 single-family houses, they'd have to come back and ask for the plan to be amended before they could do that. Before they did anything, if it didn't fit within the parameters they've described.
Within the approved plan, correct, yes. Or shall I say, if it wasn't consistent with the approved plan.
Okay, so you have an opportunity to respond to those recent comments.
A few comments, but just to emphasize the point that the commissioner just made. Sorry. This is the district plan. And if we propose to make a change to that district plan under the current zoning law, that would require that we come back and modify the district plan. And I think that's the point you were trying to make. I also wanted to point out a couple things that aren't readily apparent. If you can see these red arrows right here, a few different people make comments regarding where the access points would be. That's where our district plan is proposing access, no place else. So if we were to propose access someplace else, that would be a change to the district plan. There were a few comments about stormwater and drainage and streams. Those issues would be addressed in connection with an actual proposal that we would make to develop. And there are currently laws, regulations, rules that are in place that would require us to deal with all of those issues in order to obtain project plan review. And that's what that step would be for the plan to be approved. I know there were a lot of comments regarding Comstock Commons. I think one thing that's important to point out is the location of this triangular area. It's along East Colvin Street, which is a major road, very close to a major intersection. The structures that are in Comstock Commons today, as you can see, they tend to be built very close to existing streets, two of which are major streets. And we're actually establishing a setback that would be further away than that. So I just think that's important for people to keep in mind. Unless the board has any other questions for me, I think I've addressed the substantive comments that were made.
Board staff. Normally when we set out our procedural history of whether it's a zone, whether it's a proposed district change like this, usually there's a history of, because I hear people referencing Forever Wild in a few places, we usually have something that says in the plan before there was a change. I don't see changes for some time in the proposed district plan that we're talking about here. We talked about other segments, the steam station, we've talked about other parts of the campus. So I'm just wondering, do we officially have something that references what they're talking about with that triangular piece?
No, because this has never been a PID, and it
hasn't
therefore
been part
never
of
had
it
a district plan. If any agreements were made, it was not through our office or the planning commission. It must have been something that was through SU and.
If I could just add one point to that, and I can't speak to what may have happened years ago with the university, but no one at the university that I've been in contact with has ever mentioned anything about lands being forever wild.
I have a procedural question. So these applications are quite similar to any other application that we receive. We can approve it, we can deny it, we can approve it with conditions, correct? Okay, thank you.
Okay. I see some hands. Are we going to go through another set of comments? Madam Legal Counsel, you want to advise?
You haven't closed the hearing, so if you would like to invite members of the public to ask questions or make comments.
So I would ask those who wish to speak again, please come back to the podium, provide your name and address for the record because this is being recorded, and then additional comments that you may have.
Gloria Sage, 1217 Jamesville Avenue. I did mention this, but I wanted to stress this. We have had, as the president, when I was president of the Outer Comstock Neighborhood Association, we had plans for changes of zoning and development. This happens to be at the corner of Thurber and Brighton. And that land was zoned residential C, and they wanted to put in something which was commercial. And the reason we were able to win that was because of the zoning. And to change the zoning was much, if that had been zoned commercial, or something that was not clear, we wouldn't have won that. Now, in this case, when you have a planned institutional district, it is not clear what is allowed. See, if it were zoned, say, B, we know you could put in apartments. But with a planned institutional district, we don't know. And to fight something when you have the plan is much harder when you have to have a zoning change. So I think this is one of the reasons I said that it is important to, at least in this instance, to have the two things together. With the bigger area, I don't have any problem. But in this case, with this little triangular piece of land, I think it is important to have the zoning and the plan together.
Thank you.
Hi again. Wendy Vander Bogart. I own property at 32 Nursery Lane. To answer, or not to answer, I had a question. It's almost a procedural question, because I looked up what is permitted in a planned institutional district, even if I'm reading the correct clauses. It's anywhere from if it's institutional, universities, colleges, public and private, elementary, junior high, high schools, hospitals, clinics, care homes, sanitariums, religious institutions, elementary institutions, civic uses, fraternities and sororities, daycare centers, business and commercial schools, and then their accessory uses, which could also include retail. I'd like to know if a zoning change were to come through, obviously there'd have to be a more detailed site plan that would go with that, but would any of those automatically be permitted? Would we have the chance to come back and say no to any of those? Or because the zoning had gone through, which allows some of these items and these different uses and building uses, is that a foregone conclusion that they can put them in? That was my question.
So they would have to establish the uses that they wish to pursue in that district plan. For instance, some district plans, some sub-districts of SU only have housing, so dormitories. Some have academic buildings, some have like the steam plant that they wanted to establish. Right. Would not have been housing or academic buildings. So in this instance, they established administrative offices and residential dormitories, because this is South Campus, and that's really what it is.
But so I just want a clarification.
So they couldn't build a steam plant. They couldn't build any of the other things there, like a hospital.
But in our chart, it says student housing, academic, sports recreational facilities, retail, and office. So that's the complete list of uses.
Yes.
Okay.
So it could be sports.
Based on what
things. And there already is retail because there's the student center is there. Okay. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Richard Lee. Now, he just got up and I don't know his name, but he just got up and he actually said that the plan is in place right now. So I don't understand the logic why we're even here trying to make a zone change. If they have everything they need, there's no proposal in the future, why are we even here? Why is there a zone change? What do we need it for then? I mean, I don't even understand the logic, to tell you the truth. If everything's here, like he said, there's not going to be any changes here. This is the way it is. This is the plan before we come to get the zone change. And then he also said, coming in here, he says, well, this is a big corner here. They're giving us 50 feet here, but he doesn't understand that it's behind our houses here. Anybody can make anything up.
Maybe we can have Heather explain. At an earlier public hearing, there was an explanation for the overall change.
Because, I don't understand why we need a change then at all.
So maybe Heather or Catherine can just repeat why they're doing all the zone changes. Or the applicant can talk.
Makes more sense.
When the rezoned Syracuse was first proposed, and as everybody knows, it's a comprehensive zone change for the entire city. SU has hundreds of acres of lands that it owns, and when new zoning requirements were being proposed for all these different areas, it caused the university to look and say, what's going to happen? And the policy decision was made is it made far more sense to put our holdings into PID so that we had one set of rules to work with, and that's what we would be able to do, especially taking into account the way the PID process works. It involves the public and a process with the Common Council and the Planning Commission. You know, yes, we have withdrawn the steam station. That deals with a totally separate issue that we could not accomplish through the PID process.
You've also taken off the other two pieces from there also.
Yes. And again, I can only report what I was told. You can still hear me, right? Yes. Okay.
It'd be better to use the microphone for the
It's being recorded.
Over here? Yeah. Thurber is existing. Vincent to here, I think, is existing. These streets, right, this is Rowe Avenue, Paper Street, Arnold Street, Paper Street, Vincent, Paper Street. They're all owned by the city. You know, as a practical matter, there's very little we could do in here anyway, because Colvin is this up here, this road up here, and this is Comstock. I'm sorry, I totally forgot. What was the question again?
Your point was there's very little you could do there, but in those triangles, there's not much you can do there either.
Well, it's on a main street, and there may very well be that's valuable. That's valuable real estate. There's not a plan, but it's valuable real estate. That the university
Ladies and gentlemen, we'd like to have one person speaking at a time. So, if the applicant is finished with any additional comments, or we'll let him finish with any additional comments. I think we've had a couple of iterations of people speaking with regard to the two proposals. So why don't you finish up any additional comments that you...
I don't have anything further.
Okay, thank you. Madam Legal Counsel, I think we are at a point...
Yes, if you've prepared, you've had members of the public speak as well as a response, so if you're prepared to move on, that's...
I think we are. We've heard a couple of iterations of comments. Applicant had the opportunity to respond and did so, and we will close this hearing and move to our next public hearing for this evening.
The next public hearing is Z2822. This is a project plan review for new construction. And this is to construct a 5-story parking garage at 400 to 410 Hickory Street, 104 to 106, and 108 to 110 Prospect Avenue, and 501, 507, 515, 517 to 523, and 525 East Willow Street. St. Joseph's Health Center is the owner and the applicant, and this lies within I believe as of today, a planned institutional district, although the mayor has to sign it. This was a holdover. The commission asked that there be a public hearing on this project plan review specifically for the construction of the garage.
Thank you. And the applicant?
Good evening, Mr. Chairman and Commission members. We're back. We were here last month. Since we visited with you, you granted us the re-subdivision for that project, which...
Can you just say your name and address?
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
My name is Kevin Gilligan. I am senior counsel with Costello, Cooney, and Fearon, and we're in Franklin Square.
Thank you.
And of course, we know where St. Joseph's is. Since we've been here, you granted us the re-subdivision, which combined the block that is bordered by Hickory Street, Prospect, Willow, and Townsend. Also, since then, we have had the Common Council has granted the zone change for the corner piece at 525 East Willow, which was the old Ploney's Auto Parts store and has been operating as our buildings and maintenance building for some years now. So that is now part of the PID. And today, the Common Council approved the amended PID, which included the 5-story parking garage at that location for employees. I think we're here basically because there was a decision that we would have a public hearing on this. We also provided some additional information, which I assume has been circulated to each of the board members at this point. We plan to demolish the brick building at the corner at 525 East Willow Street and build the parking garage on that eastern, I would say, third of that block. This will result in losing some parking places in the surface parking lots that we already have. I think it nets out somewhere in the, it was going to be a 391 space garage. I think the net is somewhere around 320 or something like that. By the time you take away the parking places we're losing. The balance of the block will continue to be used for surface parking. The photos that you have in your package show the block as it currently exists. Drainage will be provided by subsurface facilities which will capture and store stormwater, discharging it into the city stormwater system at approved rates. We also have provided you with, and you should have in your packages, a plan called C501, which shows the drainage and the adjustments that have been made for drainage. In terms of signs, we have one directional ground sign at the northwest corner of East Willow and North Townsend. That is actually on hospital property. Many of our other signs have been encroachments on city property. This one is actually going to be on hospital property. It's going to be the same type of sign with different language as all the other directional signs at the hospital and on our campus. The large sign on the corner will be 10 feet high by 7 feet 11 inches long by 2 feet wide. If you see the exterior elevations A3.02, there's actually a rendering of that sign on that plan. On the east elevation that we provided to you, there's going to be a wall sign at the 5th floor level that will be 15 feet by 6 feet. On the south elevation, there would be a wall sign at the 5th floor level, which will be 15 feet by 6 feet. There also are small signs above the entrances, the north and south elevations, designating that it's employee parking. Lighting is limited to 2 access points. Those are the access points on Hickory and Willow, and it just lights up the in and out. There's internal lighting within the garage, of course. Landscape plan, we provided a C401 with respect to the project. There's going to be landscaping at the access points, and of course there's grass all the way around the outside. I don't know if there are any other questions. We have attempted to answer all the questions that were raised at the last meeting and provided you written comments in that regard. So this is it. We're here for project site plan approval. Everything else is done.
Thank you. Questions?
Yes, I had a question the last time about impact on traffic and circulation, and I see that you had a study done.
Yes, we contracted a traffic study.
So I still have a point of clarification or a point that I need clarified. My concern is that you have an existing garage 2 blocks away, and presumably it's going to no longer be in service, and this is going to be the garage that it is. My concern is, will they be open at the same time, and what is the impact of both of those garages?
I'll let
Because it doesn't appear to
Director
be
of Management
that wasn't
and
analyzed, so.
Construction. This is Mr. Christian Day from the hospital.
Good evening, it's Chris Day from St. Joe's Hospital. The plan is right now to build the new garage. When that is 100% complete, we will move employees from that garage into the new garage, close that garage. So they'll be no longer, they won't be open at the same time ever.
Okay. What happens to the old garage?
Right now we're looking at studies either demolishing in the future or we're looking to rehab the structure. Right now the structural integrity for parking is not there. For future use as occupied office space, Class B office space, there's a possibility. We're in the middle of a study right now, so we will know that in the future. But there will never be parking there.
That's what I need to know. Thank you.
You know how long we had to look to find a person for St. Joseph's Hospital by the name of Christian? I worked on that.
It took all day.
It took
and
all
time.
day, yeah.
Additional questions?
I do want to thank the councilman. I want to thank Mr. Gillen because you did answer the questions about parking. The previous signs, directional signs, and the fact that this one won't be in an encroachment was an issue I raised last time, so thank you for addressing that.
Yes, sir.
I think we're good. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Are there individuals who would like to speak in favor of this proposal? If so, please come forward. Anyone wishing to speak in opposition to the proposal, please come forward. It looks as though we don't have any additional speakers, so we'll declare this hearing closed and move to our next hearing.
The next public hearing is SP 1908. This is a special permit for a restaurant at 900 East Fayette Street. 900 East Fayette Street Group LLC is the owner, and Strong Hearts Cafe LLC is the applicant, and the property lies within a business class A zoning district.
There's a long walk from the far corner. My name is Jason Evans. I live at 101 Arlington Avenue. I'm an architect here on behalf of my wife, who's actually Natalie Evans, who's on the application, I believe. So to give a quick background, I think we all know or are aware of Strong Hearts Cafe. They're located currently on East Genesee Street, a few blocks away from the proposed new location, and are looking to relocate to offer a larger kitchen space for their production, as well as a little more seating space, more comfortable seating space for their customers. So in moving to this new location, I think we're asking for, beyond the special permit to open a restaurant in this location, also some minor waivers, one of which is signage. I believe there's a wall or a building sign and a ground sign allowed, but we're proposing a building sign, a blade sign that projects from the building so that it's visible from either direction, because it'll be slightly removed from Genesee Street, so we want to make sure they still have a visual presence from that street. And then a secondary sign which is applied to the interior of the glazing, just so when you're close to the building and you can't see the sign projecting above you, you're able to still understand that this is the cafe. And then there's also a waiver request for parking because of the density of the neighborhood and the site. There's not ability to put parking on site, so we're relying on the off-street or the on-street parking in the neighborhood. As they currently exist on Genesee Street, it's the same setup. They don't have any dedicated parking for customers, and so it'd just kind of be transferring that to a new location a few blocks away. If you have any more specific questions, I'd be happy to answer.
Let's pause and see.
If it was all right, if I
Please.
wanted to ask, I think one of the waivers was a request for a landscape treatment waiver. Can you answer why you need to?
Oh, I believe that may be a misinterpretation. We included a site plan from when the building was constructed. I didn't get the full background. So the building is recently renovated / constructed. It's in addition to an existing building. So they're moving into one of the new spaces in the newly constructed building. So it's completely empty right now. We included in the application a site plan just to give a more general understanding of what the surrounding is. So it might have been misinterpreted as new work, but there's no site work being done as part of this project at all.
Maybe all the staff then. So the there were 4 waivers. One of them was landscape treatment, and he's saying that they don't plan to do anything to existing conditions.
Right.
So when this was reviewed by the office, this is seen as a request for a waiver from any landscape treatment?
Yes, because restaurants have a different set of rules than when this went through the original project site review, which doesn't have the landscape treatment. So it's existing conditions, and sometimes with properties that don't have any room, where the building physically comes up to the property line, that is something that, I mean, they would have to justify it.
In the past, right, in the past, this body has considered
Yes.
that justification that it's an existing condition.
Yes.
Okay. And in the arterial setback, is that the same issue?
Exactly. Can't change the street that it's on.
Okay. Just want to be fair to you. That's why I want to get that on the record.
Well, it's good for my information as well, why that's.
All set. I'm all set.
Thank you.
Said, I think. Are there individuals who would like to speak in favor of this application? Please come forward and provide your comments. Anyone wishing to speak in favor, please come forward.
Good evening. Nick Nye with Syracuse Blueprint Company, 825 East Genesee Street. The back side of our building is Wellington Place, which is, you can easily see the Strong Hearts new location. Just short and sweet that I've been able to build a professional relationship with Joel and the members of Strong Heart Cafe, and we believe that their location and that they're going for right now would be excellent for the area, and we are in favor. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Other individuals who wish to speak in favor of this application, please come forward. Anyone wishing to speak in opposition to the application, please come forward. We don't appear to have any additional speakers, so we'll declare this hearing closed and move to our next hearing.
Next public hearing is SP 1909. This is a special permit for a restaurant at 466 Westcott Street. RJ Westcott Holdings LLC is the owner, and Cure Delicatessen and Provisions LLC is the applicant. It lies within a business class A zoning district.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Dan Mevick. I'm the attorney for RJ Westcott LLC, and the property address tonight is 466 Westcott Street. We're seeking a special permit in this case for a deli, a coffee shop and deli. The history of this case, just to give you a little bit of it, is a few years back, it was Picasso Bakery, and we had gone through a similar process. Unfortunately, the owners of Picasso Bakery had some financial and personal issues, so they were never able to go through with their plans of putting in a little seating area. At that time, certain items were negotiated and taken care of with the city in terms of that there was some parking on the side. That parking was removed, and in place of that, the city put a bump in that particular area. Some of the issues in the front of the building, it had terracotta type tiles on the front of the building, which have been removed. The plan is now to have the front part of the building redone to fit more in with the historical nature of the area. Also to reuse the front area and to put in a patio area with a green space rather than what's currently there is dirt and tar, to again make it more appealing. There's no proposed changes structurally to the building. Obviously, the inside will be completely renovated. The outside also will be completely renovated. Again, there's no issue with parking. The parking on the actual lot is 2 or 3 spaces in the back of the building that's actually on the property. In addition to that, the bump in that the city provides for another 3 spaces. And my client also owns a large parking lot across the street, the community parking lot, that has upwards of 50 spaces. And he also owns property, a parking lot off of Beach Street, which has another 30 spaces, which is just adjacent to this current property. So we're requesting the special use permit so that this coffee shop can be put in place. Again, it will enhance the area. It goes along with the community in terms of the student housing area as well as the permanent residents that live in that area. So that's all I have.
I do. Can you speak to the site plan, or is there someone here who would speak to the site plan?
I believe Tree is here and she can speak to the site plan, who is going to be a tenant.
Hello, Teresa Martini, Cured Delicatessen. For the site plan now on the Dell Street side of the building, do you happen to have a copy of it in your materials here? We will be putting a green strip in. There's some tar and blacktop that will be removed, and that'll be landscaped according to what Terry Hoist did for our site plan. In the front, there is, I'm sorry, I'm just trying to see if I can.
Well, I mean, I have a copy, but I could ask questions based on it. So if you have it in your head, maybe you can respond.
Yeah.
So, in looking at the drawing, there's not a lot of detail here. So, I know from personally going to the former tenant's business, that there are steps that are in the patio, what would be your patio area, but there's no steps shown here. So I'm assuming that's going to get taken care of somehow, because I don't show how you're going to get into the building based on the drawing.
Yeah, there's,
or at least I don't see that.
Yeah, on the site plan, it should be like a semicircle. That's what the steps look like. Is there a semicircle right by the front door? So what has...
Are those going to stay?
Nothing will change to the entrance to the building.
So the stairs stay there, and the patio will go out from the stairs?
The patio will be at ground level, yeah,
right,
below the stairs.
But the stairs won't be modified?
Correct.
Okay.
No changes.
There's also shown, I think it's a former sidewalk that goes perpendicular to the street towards the front of the building. That one's going to be removed, and a new one's going to be put in place, more in line with the door, the entrance. Yep. Except based on the scale of this drawing, it looks like it's 2 feet wide, which from a design standpoint doesn't make any sense. So it would be good to have that clarified so that we know it's a reasonable addition. Sure. And then also on the Dell Street side, you basically are, with the designers, basically proposing a lawn between the edge of the patio and the public sidewalk on Dell Street. And given that that's where the 3 recessed parking spaces are, it seems that there's going to be a desire for people to go right from the public sidewalk on Dell across the grass to your patio and into the building. And it seems that it would be reasonable to either extend the patio or to put a sidewalk there, because people are going to walk there anyway. I also noticed that in the city's transportation planner's remarks, that one of the justifications for perhaps waiving the parking requirement is that the property is basically on a bus route, but also it is related to the biking, the multimodal corridor, and he suggested that bike parking also be provided on the site. And again, that's not shown on the site plan, so I don't know if you haven't had a chance to respond to that recommendation or not. But I think that those items, the clarifications on the site plan, so that it's a site that actually works from a design perspective, need to be provided somehow. I mean, it could certainly be a condition if we were going to move forward today, but I just want you to know in advance that I'm a little leery of the lack of detail. Okay. I just want to make sure that it works.
Yeah, we'd be happy to modify or
I mean, they're fairly modest changes or
we'd
clarifications.
Be happy to, to provide that.
All right.
Yeah.
That's all.
And it looks like Mr. Medic wants to add something before we...
Oh, please go ahead.
No, I have nothing further. I guess I was just trying to take down some notes, and I had maybe some question in terms of the last issue that you raised regarding the bus.
They're asking for a waiver for the parking requirements. And one of the justifications that actually the city transportation planner offered, as opposed to the applicant, is that it's on a bus line and there's a good deal of bike traffic, and that might be a reasonable mitigation for not having to provide parking on site. I do have two other quick questions though, and perhaps
See, I
for
shouldn't have came back up here.
Well, you were the tenant representative.
I'm just kidding.
How will trash be dealt with on site? I don't really remember how the previous business occupant dealt with it, but how will garbage and refuse containers be dealt with?
Yeah, that's a great question. RJ Westcott owns the parking lot and buildings directly across the street, and there's facilities, dumpsters over there.
So you're going to be using off-site facilities for your storage, for your garbage and whatnot?
Correct. They're already established, yeah, for the building. Yep.
All right, thank you.
Thank you both very much.
Thank you.
Individuals who would like to speak in favor of this application, please come forward to do so. Anyone wishing to speak in opposition to the application, please come forward. Any staff members wishing to make a comment?
Hello. So the transportation planner updated the comments. With respect to the bump in that DPW did make, there is one space that needs to be striped so that there is no parking because it is directly behind the driveway. And so Neil Burke indicated that working with DPW, so long as that's striped and there's no parking there, that would be a safer option with respect to that. So there's really 2 on street and then the 1 on site. I just want to clarify that.
I'm also assuming if someone parks blocking the driveway, that's a violation and could get ticketed by the police who are
but striping
a
it
door
would
over.
make it yes, and more justifiable for the tow.
Yes.
Are you comfortable with the undetailed plan?
No, I'm going to condition it. I'm going to just condition that if they get all the clarifications, an updated plan. Okay. I think the concept is fine.
Okay. I think we've exhausted speakers. We had any pro or con, so we've had the presentation, questions from the commission members. I think we are in a position to close this hearing as well and then move to our next hearing.
Okay. Next public hearing is R1914. This is a re-subdivision to combine 3 properties into 1 new lot at 522, 526, and 532 Roberts Avenue. John Capozolo III is the owner and applicant, and the property lies, all the properties lie within the residential class A1 zoning district.
My name is John Capozolo. I live at 517 Roberts Ave here in Syracuse. And my father and I own the residence at 528 Roberts Ave. That's right across the street. And that's situated on lot 526 through 532. And my father subsequently bought lot 522 in order to put a driveway, but he never got around to putting in the driveway. So now, in order to put the driveway, I guess, yeah, the permit office told us we have to have that re-subdivided.
Pretty straightforward?
Pardon?
I said that seems pretty straightforward, right? That's the
Yeah.
summary of the proposal, right?
Right, pretty much in order to get the permit, we're gonna have to re-subdivide.
Exactly. Okay. Let's just pause for a minute in case there are questions. Are there?
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much for the summary.
Okay.
Are there individuals who would like to speak in favor of this application? If so, please come forward. Anyone wishing to speak in opposition to the application, come forward and do so. And no additional speakers. We have your application. We'll close the hearing and look forward to acting on it later.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next public hearing is R 1915. This is also a re-subdivision. This is to combine two properties into one new lot at 168 and 172 West Matson Avenue. Christine Capria and the Greater Syracuse Property Development Corporation are the owners and applicants, and all properties lie within a residential Class A1 zoning district.
I'm Terry Luckett from the Greater Syracuse Land Bank at 431 East Fayette Street. The land bank owns 172 West Matson Ave. It's a buildable vacant lot, 40 feet times 136 feet deep. The property has difficult topography, making it an unlikely candidate for new construction. We would have liked to have split the lot and sold it to the adjoining neighbors, but only one neighbor, Christine Capria, was interested in the lot, so we'd like to sell it to her.
Okay, thank you. Questions?
No questions, thank you.
I'm just curious, Terry, when you say it's, would you say not buildable? Is it just steep?
It's a difficult topography. It's steep grade, it's wooded.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are there individuals who would like to speak in favor of this application? If so, please come forward. Anyone wishing to speak in opposition to the application, please come forward. No additional speakers. We'll close this hearing and move to our next hearing.
The next public hearing is R 1917. This is another re-subdivision. This is to combine three properties into one new lot at 222, 224, and 226 Hunt Avenue. Leona Jones and the Greater Syracuse Property Development Corporation are the owners and applicants, and all properties lie within a residential Class AA zoning district.
222 Hunt Avenue is a vacant lot owned by the land bank. It's 33 feet wide. It's non-buildable. We would have liked to have split the lot between the adjacent owners. One owner did not respond, Leona Jones at 226 Hunt Ave. I guess she has a double parcel. That's why you're saying it's two parcels, but it's 226 Hunt Ave. She wants to purchase the whole lot, and we would like to sell it to her.
Are there individuals who would like to speak in favor of this application? If so, please come to the podium. Anyone wishing to speak in opposition to the application, please come forward and provide those comments. No further speakers. We'll declare this hearing closed. Move to our next one.
Okay, the next public hearing is R 1919. This is a re-subdivision to combine two properties into one new lot at 300, 306 to 312, and 320 to 324 South Salina Street, and 115 West Fayette Street. 300 Block LLC is the owner and applicant, and the properties lie within the Central Business District Retail Zoning District.
If the applicant is here, please come forward to provide a summary of your application. Unless someone's doing double duty tonight, I think perhaps they are not here. Yeah. Did we know if they were planning to attend?
As far as I know, I did want to say this is split between CBD GSA and CBDR, but that they're not adding a property that's split zone. It's already combined as split, so I just want to make that clear because it might seem a little odd to you, but not that I know of. They were notified and supposed to be here. So
okay. Madam Legal Counsel, can you provide a little guidance? Is the application complete as far as we can tell?
Yes, and if you feel that you have any questions that you need the applicant to answer, you can hold the hearing, but if you feel you have enough information to go forward, I would just recommend, since it was advertised, asking members of the public if they would like to speak, but you can close the hearing tonight if you feel you have enough information to act.
Okay, thank you. Let's immediately ask if there are individuals to speak in favor of this application to come forward and do so. In favor? And is there anyone who wishes to speak in opposition to the application? Please come forward. So no speakers, no presenter. It seemed straightforward to me, the rationale for this, so I am content to use the information we have on hand to make a determination on this. Is there,
Consensus.
sounds like we have agreement on that. In that case, we will close the hearing and move to our next one.
Next public hearing is 3S 1904. This is a 3-mile limit subdivision review in the town of DeWitt. This is the Church of the Living Word subdivision. This is to combine 2 properties into 1 new lot at 6099 Court Street Road. And Church of the Living Word is the owner and applicant.
Thank you. If the applicant is here, please come forward to present your proposal. Not unusual for a 3-mile limit application. So I will ask if there are any individuals who wish to speak in favor of this application to come forward and do so. Anyone wishing to speak in opposition to the application, please come to the podium and share your comments. So no speakers on this, and we will declare the hearing closed.
Next public hearing is 3S 1905. This is also a 3-mile limit subdivision review. This is in the town of Manlius. This is the town center subdivision, and this is to divide 2 properties into 3 new lots at 350 Town Drive. Route 5 Company LLC is the owner and applicant.
Thank you. If the applicant is here, please come forward to present your application. Are there individuals who wish to speak in favor of this application? Please come to the podium and do so. Are there any individuals who wish to speak in opposition to the application? Please come forward and do so. So once again, 3-mile limit case, no presenters or speakers, not unusual, and we can declare this hearing closed.
The last public hearing is 3S 1906. This is a 3-mile limit subdivision review in the town of DeWitt. This is the Dunriven Homestead amended subdivision, and this is to combine 2 parcels into 1 new lot at 6388 Carson Drive, and said Hasanovic is the applicant and owner.
I think I know what's going to happen with this one. If the applicant is here, please come forward to present your application. Is there anyone who wishes to speak in favor of the application? Please come to the podium and do so. Is there anyone who wishes to speak in opposition to the application? Please come forward and offer your comments. So once again, our third 3-mile limit case, no speakers. The application appears complete. We will close the hearing. And I think that completes our schedule of public hearings for this evening, correct?
Yes.
So we do have additional items to consider tonight, but we will go back to the beginning of our applications for which we held hearings this evening, and where we can come to a decision. As you had noted at the outset of the meeting, Heather, the first 5 applications have all been withdrawn per the applicant's request. So that takes us then to the first hearing from this evening, which was a continuation from our last meeting, Z-2811, and the companion case, Z-2817. We will first look at the change of zone, Z-2811, and then act separately on the related application. We had an updated presentation from the applicant. We heard speakers against, 1 sort of in favor, and some clarifying responses from the applicant in response to the comments made in opposition. Is there a motion on this proposed change of zone?
I would make a motion. Before I make a motion. So it certainly shouldn't be surprising, based on previous meetings and my comments, that I'm remain concerned about the RA1 classified parcels. So my question to our council is, can I make a motion to approve the zone change omitting those parcels?
Yes, you can place a condition on your approval, so that would, from what I understand, basically be shrinking the size of the PID. So that is.
Then there are then obvious implications that for the next application, which is the district plan, that would have to be modified because they've now included a whole bunch of things that would no longer apply.
And because they have to be submitted and considered together.
Can I do my motion and then the second piece be resubmitted separately? You're saying that they can't be done, they have to be done at the same meeting? Is that what you're saying?
No, they just have to be in concert with each other. So well, first of all, if you were to make the motion with the conditions that they be not included, those pieces of property, then they would have to modify the petition and modify the district plan.
So it's better just to deny them and tell them to come back procedurally? This is me making a motion. One of my colleagues may choose to do something else, but.
I mean, I guess you could do it effectively. It's either effectively the outcome and the informed decision that you're making is the same. However, if you deny it, then they would have to come back and a new hearing would have to be.
Yeah, I'm trying to be as streamlined about this as I possibly could be.
Syracuse University's legal counsel has asked for clarification about which parcels you're referring to.
Everything that's currently RA1,
okay,
which is what I said like three meetings ago, and I had hoped that we would have seen this. So I appreciate that they took some of it out, but the triangular piece and the piece in the northeast corner, they're all RA1, so my concern is equal for all of those areas.
Does that address your concern, or?
Well, I understand.
Okay, okay.
I would point out that there is nothing being proposed on the district plan in any of those.
Oh, I know that, but.
I don't know that it would need to change the district plan, except to say that we're taking those out.
Well, I guess that's the procedural question. So you could maybe just take out the references to the setbacks that would have applied in those two remaining RA1 areas that they've requested to keep in. I'm just trying to make it as streamlined as possible so at least the majority of the property can move ahead. So do you all want to think about that, and we can come back to it if it helps you to advise us from a procedural perspective?
I mean, like either way, it doesn't matter. But both the petition and the district plan would need to be amended to make this efficient and legally clean.
If you would like, I can research it further, but based on my knowledge now, I think what you are proposing is acceptable.
Okay, so let's do the first one then.
Okay.
I'm going to move that we approve Z2811 change of zone on the condition that all the properties currently zoned residential A1 within the proposal are removed from that proposal, and that the balance of the property, which I believe is residential class B, can be converted to planned institutional district.
So, and just for the sake of the record then, I'll second the motion with the obvious amendment that the parcels still zoned RA1 would be subject to separate review.
Oh, yes.
Right, so that we're not foreclosing that review at a later time, but we're saying for the purpose of this planning district.
Right. The owner can come in and under RA1 make all kinds of requests for what to do to what they own.
Right. So second.
Okay.
to.
Discussion. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed say nay. Any abstentions? The proposed change of zoning is approved with the conditions noted.
Did you make a seeker declaration?
Oh, negative, yes, throw that in there. Negative declaration, sorry. I was
Still
worried about
second
that.
that?
Seconded.
I forgot about that. Oh.
Excuse me. That brings us to the related case Z-2817, the district plan for the PID for this property. Is there a motion on this?
So I'm going to try that again, the same concept. I move to approve with a negative declaration the proposed district plan on the condition that the references made to the parcels that are the setbacks that would be related to the properties that are currently RA1 be removed from the proposal.
So to modify it to reflect the previous.
Yes, that sounds better, yes. Mhm.
Would you?
Modify to reflect the previous decision.
Okay. Certain
And the new proposed zone change.
eloquence to that,
There was a nice little eloquence to that. That's why I'm not in.
simplicity.
Okay, for the second part of our proposal here, since we are again addressing the RA1 zoning, again, further discussion is not foreclosed by our decision tonight. This is simply addressing what needs to go into the plan institutional district. Does it require a negative seeker declaration for the district?
Yes, I believe so.
Okay.
I'm
You
sorry.
did on this one, so, and again, so now I'll second,
Okay.
again, continue to
Yes.
our discussion on the record about the previous part of this.
Right.
Okay.
Okay, further discussion on the motion. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed say nay. Any abstentions? The district plan is approved with the conditions noted. We move to the project site review for Z-2822, the parking garage situated at Hickory, Prospect, Willow, and Townsend Streets. Is there a motion on this?
I move approval, granting the waiver, the sign waiver. Move approval of the negative declaration.
Second.
Discussion. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? Project site plan is approved for this project. We now look at SP-19-08, the special permit for the restaurant in the 900 block of East Fayette Street. Is there a motion on this?
Move approval with a negative declaration granting the requested waivers.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
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 Those opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? Special permit for the restaurant is approved. Second special restaurant permit for this evening, SP-19-09, the project in the 400 block of Westcott Street.
I have a question, clarification from staff. They need a waiver for the sign, but it's a sign that's already there. I assume they're going to change the type and all of that. So did the Planning Commission at some point grant a waiver for the sign that was up for Picasso's?
No, because Picasso's was never approved.
Was, just for reference, was this a sign that, the way they calculate the width of the sign, it's the background?
No, it's a
projecting
It's
sign.
a projecting sign,
It's double-sided.
but it wasn't approved for the prior tenant.
So we're approving the type of sign.
Type and, yeah, type.
Type, not
It's within,
dimensions.
it's within the
Okay.
limit.
Right, exactly.
Okay. So I would move to approve with a negative declaration granting the waivers on the condition that the transportation planner's recommendations are met and that a new site plan clearly illustrating those conditions is submitted.
Now, did you, you originally had talked about adding bicycle parking, is that a condition?
That was from
that was from the transportation
planner's comments, I think.
Okay, so.
It's a balance between, you're not gonna provide parking, and if most of your customers are gonna walk, bike, or take the bus, then I think if they're gonna bike, provide a couple bike racks or whatever.
The conditions are to satisfy all of the transportation planners.
Right, he talks about the 2 sidewalks that go from the patio to the public sidewalk. Well, one that's shown, that goes to the public sidewalk that looks like it's about 2 feet wide, which wouldn't work in a residential situation, let alone commercial. So he suggests it be wider. And he also recommends that there be a walk that goes from the side of the patio at the entrance to the building to Dell Street, because that's just a natural desire line, especially with 2 recessed on-street parking places. He also made some recommendations, minor recommendations about the lawn area and like putting something other than lawn there, like shrubs or something, which I agree would deter people from jumping the curb and parking up on the grass, so.
Okay.
And we just need an accurate site plan that like shows the steps into the building, which I know are there, but are not on the drawing.
Okay.
Okay. I'm done.
Discussion. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? The special permit for this restaurant is approved. We're now at our first re-subdivision for the evening, R-19-14, the driveway project on Roberts Avenue. Is there a motion on this?
Move approval of the negative declaration.
I'll second, and I'll just note that one of the things I'm always concerned about are sizes, and there are a number of sort of large and oddly shaped lots in this neighborhood, so I think it's consistent.
Discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? The re-subdivision is approved. On Roberts, now we're at R-19-17, the re-subdivision on Hunt Avenue. Is there a motion on this?
A move to approve with a negative declaration, and again, noting that although this might be slightly larger, that the topography making the one lot unbuildable seems to be a mitigating factor.
Second.
Oops. No, I just switched you to, sorry.
All in, second discussion. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? That re-subdivision is approved. We are now at the, did I misread that number on the last one? That was R-19-15, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay, so our next re-subdivision, R-19-17, the proposed re-subdivision for Hunt Avenue. Is there a motion on this?
Move approval of the negative declaration.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? That re-subdivision is approved. Next re-subdivision is R-19-19, the project in the 300 block of South Salina Street, corner of West Fayette. Is there a motion on this?
Move approval of the negative declaration.
Second.
Discussion. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? That re-subdivision is approved. The first of our 3 mile limit cases tonight, 3S-19-04, the first one in the town of DeWitt. Is there a motion on this one?
Move to approve of the negative declaration.
Second.
Discussion. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? The DeWitt 3 mile limit case is approved. We're now at the 3 mile limit case in the town of Manlius, 3S-19-05. Is there a motion on this?
Move approval of the negative declaration.
Second.
Discussion. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed say nay. Any abstentions? The Manlius 3-mile limit case is approved. Our second Town of DeWitt 3-mile limit case, 3S-19-06. Is there a motion on this?
Move to approve with a negative declaration.
Second.
Discussion. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed say nay. Any abstentions? The second DeWitt 3-mile limit case is approved. That takes us through the hearings from this evening. We still have a couple of items under minor modification, classification. Heather, would you present the first application here, please?
All right.
Or summarize it?
Despite what I thought, it's harder to type than it is to write. Sorry about that. All right, so the first minor modification is a special permit to an indoor amusement and recreation facility, and this is to modify the floor plan at 610 Marcellus Street. Tino Lamperi is the owner and applicant, and this is industrial class A zoning district. It's also known as 1003 West Fayette. This is the axe throwing establishment that was recently approved in December, and so they are replacing the private party area with 381 square foot knife area. They want to increase the archery area to 573 square feet, and which designates 7 knife and axe areas. They'll be slightly larger. There'll be a circulation area which will be slightly smaller, which is their spectator lounge. So this does not necessitate any expanded or new waivers from the Planning Commission.
Okay, thank you.
Just a point of information, but because they're changing the private party area, that change requires this special modification? Is that why
well, the floor plan is changing.
The floor plan
so
is changing.
Conditions of the previous approval had the previous floor plan. So now that that is changing, it needs to be rectified with the board that gave it its original approval.
And that
or
would
permission.
be us.
It would be you.
For knife throwing.
Move approval with a negative declaration.
Second.
Discussion. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed say nay. Any abstentions? That modification to the special permit is approved. We have an additional special permit modification on Butternut Street.
Yes, this is, so this is the plaza with Pavone's Pizza on Butternut Street, and a church would like to establish itself as a tenant. As a result, the parking area or the parking requirements increased, so they have been to the Board of Zoning Appeals to get relief from that required number of parking spaces, and also in an exception, which is something that the Board of Zoning Appeals can grant, to allow parking to go not more than 50 feet into a residential zoning district. This is a split piece of property, so this is 500 to 524 Butternut Street. This is a special permit modification to a restaurant, which was the original approval. And this is to establish a church as a tenant, and it's a business class A and residential class A zoning district. So both of those were approved by the Board of Zoning Appeals. The exception to encroach no more than 50 feet into the residential district, and also the parking waiver. As a result, however, because the special permit runs with the land, the uses needed to be adjusted within that previous permission.
So even though it's not a restaurant,
Right.
there's a special permit attached to the parcel.
That's correct.
And so the BZA had a public hearing.
They did. They had two. One for the yes, they did. One for the exception and one for the parking waiver.
Was there public comment?
No. The only comment was from transportation planner, who noted a lot of parking on North McBride in the right-of-way, which is unsafe. and backing out into that area.
But the general public didn't show up?
No, not that I can recall.
The planner also mentioned something about hazardous site. What does that refer to?
Yep, so, let's see.
Hazards from a traffic perspective?
So,
Yeah, was that with regard to the entry into the lot and the parking, or is that something else?
on the North McBride Street frontage?
Well, he doesn't say. It's the first comment in his section.
Hazardous site?
Oh, I think it means the North McBride Street backing out into the right of way.
So not like environmentally
Not a
hazardous?
hazardous
No.
waste.
He-
Okay.
I think he
That's
means
what I first
below,
thought of.
as I state below.
Okay.
So, and that is something that is an enforcement issue.
So he's listed several recommendations here in terms of addressing those deficiencies, as he called them.
Yes, I can double check if these were the same ones that were made with respect to the variance.
Maybe we should hold it for the April 30th meeting.
Do you think we should have a public hearing? If they already had a public hearing and no one showed up? I mean, if they advertised and no one showed up. Yeah, that's what I was thinking, is just meet all his conditions.
Right, the parking.
Yeah. Let me see if I have, the BZA hasn't yet adopted their resolution, so I don't have it with me, but I do recall that these items were brought up at the hearing. But yes, you put conditions.
Any additional information on this one that we need to know about?
No.
Nope, thank you. Okay, I think we have the situation in hand here. Is there a motion on this one?
I would move approval with a negative declaration on the condition that the transportation planner's his conditions are met.
Discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? So this special permit modification is also approved. I think, with the exception of the authorization for hearings, that is our business for this evening. Is that correct?
Yes.
And we didn't hold any hearings open this evening, so we are left with just the 8 applications for our next meeting.
Yes, and we need to talk about that.
Oh, right.
We had originally discussed shifting the next meeting to April 30th, which is a Tuesday. However, the mayor's or the Common Council's budget actual public hearing is in this room at 5:30 on that night. So we can either leave it at that night and time and go to a different location, such as the iLab. We've had public meetings in there as previously, or we can switch this to Monday night, the 29th.
Why did we originally pick the 30th?
Conflict with staff.
So why don't we just keep it the 30th and use a new location?
How about I do this? Let me make sure that another location
Is
available.
available.
If
Right.
not, would the 29th be adverse to anyone here? Would you be able to? We want to make sure you're here. So I'd have to ask Rebecca, but as long as you were available on that Monday, and I will let you know right away. I can find out their schedule tomorrow.
I mean, if the other room is available, that would be, even though it's much smaller, it would be a good venue, perhaps, given the amount of business we have that night with just 8 hearings.
And they're almost already subdivisions.
Yeah.
We tend not
So, in other words, it could accommodate the attendance that we would anticipate. So that should work from that perspective. So for tonight, we should go ahead and authorize these hearings for the 30th. And if there's a problem with the venue, we will have to regroup and either find another venue or reschedule our meeting.
Correct.
Okay.
But if you're gonna reschedule it, I would suggest doing it on the 29th, on the Monday. So,
Okay.
but I will let everyone know as soon as possible, and we'll make sure that it is available to the public on the website, and that it's, you know, very clear that which day and exactly where it is.
Okay. So with that clarification, is there a motion to authorize the public hearings for Tuesday the 30th?
So moved.
Discussion. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed say nay. Those 8 hearings are authorized for our next meeting. Location to be determined. Anything else to come before the commission this evening?
No.
In that case, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed say nay. Any abstentions? So we stand adjourned until the meeting on the 30th.